Hi and good evening to my lecturer communication principal, Mr. Adit Rahman. We are from Group G. Then for assignment 2 is AM transmitter and AM receiver. First of all, I need to introduce my group partner. First is Sarmila anak perempuan Paramasiva. Second, Nur Azira binti Abdul Rashid. Third, Nur Amira binti Muhammad Zaini. Fourth, Tines Kumar anak lelaki Ganisan. And the last one is me, Jacqueline Gani. Next slide, I will tell you about introduction. So this is introduction. Before that, I introduce myself again. I am Jacqueline Gani. My message number is B081810362. Okay. So here is the introduction. For introduction transmitter is an electronic device used in telecommunication to produce radio wave in order to transmit or send data with the aid of an antenna. The transmitter is able to generate a radio frequency alternating current that is then applied to the antenna, which is in turn radiate this as radio wave. Transmitters are devices that are used to send out data as radio wave in a specific band of the electromagnetic spectrum in order to fulfill a specific communication need, be it for voice or for general data. In order to do this, a transmitter takes energy from a power source and transform this into a radio frequency alternating current that changes direction million to billions of times per second depending on the band that the transmitter needs to send in. When this rapidly changing energy is directed through a conductor, in in this case, antenna, electromagnetic or radio wave are radiated outward to be received by another antenna that is connected to a receiver that reverses the process to come up with the actual message or data. The receiver is the destination of the message. The receiver task is to interpret the sender message, both verbal or non-verbal, with as little distortion as possible. The process of interpreting the message is known as decoding because words and non-verbal signals have different meaning to different people. Countless problems can occur at this point in the process of communication.
Okay, hi, I'm Amira. I would like to present a literature review about AM transmitter and AM receiver. Okay, so AM modulation or AM as it is often called, it's a form of modulation used for radio transmission for broadcasting and two-way radio communication application. Although one of the earliest used form of modulation, it is still used today mainly for long, medium, and shortwave broadcasting and for some aeronautical point-to-point communication. One of the key reasons of the use of amplitude modulation was it is of us of use. The system simply required the carrier amplitude to be modulated, but more useful, the detector required in the receiver could be a simple diode based circuit. This means that AM radio did not need complicated demodulator and costs were reduced. A key requirement for widespread use of radio technology, especially in the early days of radio when IC were not available. So this is amplitude modulation application. Amplitude modulation is a variety of applications such as broadcast transmission, airband radio, single sideband, quadratio amplitude modulation. AM transmitter produce an electromagnetic carrier wave whose amplitude is modulated and which travel through the other to a radio receiver. The transmitter contains a stable RF oscillator, usually crystal control, an audio amplifier, a modulator, RF amplifier, and a connection to an antenna whose length is determined by the frequency of transmission. AM receiver is made up of the major elements such as RF amplifier, mixer, detector, and oscillator. The system is set up to receive and detect an amplitude modulated signal. An amplitude modulation system varies the amplitude of the carrier in step to the amplitude change of a modulating signal. The variation in the amplitude of the signal is the intelligent, while the carrier is used to transmit the information. That's all from me. Thank you. Okay, hi, I'm Amira. I would like to present a literature review about AM transmitter and AM receiver. Okay, so AM modulation or AM as it is often called, it's a form of modulation used for radio transmission, for broadcasting and two-way radio communication application. Although one of the earliest used form of modulation, it is still used today mainly for long, medium and shortwave broadcasting and for some aeronautical point-to-point communication. One of the key reasons of the use of amplitude modulation was it is of us of use. The system simply required the carrier amplitude to be modulated, but more useful, the detector required in the receiver could be a simple diode-based circuit. This means that AM radio did not need complicated demodulator and costs were reduced. A key requirement for widespread use of radio technology, especially in the early days of radio when IC were not available. So this is amplitude modulation application. Amplitude modulation is a variety of application such as broadcast transmission, air band radio, single sideband, quadratio amplitude modulation. AM transmitter produce an electromagnetic carrier wave whose amplitude is modulated and which travel through the other to a radio receiver. The transmitter contains a stable RF oscillator, usually crystal control, an audio amplifier, a modulator, RF amplifier, and a connection to an antenna whose length is determined by the frequency of transmission. AM receiver is made up of the major elements such as RF amplifier, mixer, detector, and oscillator. The system is set up to receive and detect an amplitude modulated signal. An amplitude modulation system varies the amplitude of the carrier in step to the amplitude change of a modulating signal. The variation in the amplitude of the signal is the intelligent, while the carrier is used to transmit the information. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello sir, my name is Dinesh Kumar son of Ganesan. Now I'm going to present about the result of our assignment 2. This is the full AM transmitter and receiver circuit. The top part of the circuit is transmitter circuit and the bottom part of the circuit is the receiver circuit. The transmitter circuit consists of a power supply, resistor, transistor, capacitor and inductor, variable inductor. Uh, the receiver circuit consists of a resistor, capacitor and a diode. This is the setting of function generator. Two function generator has been applied in this circuit. The waveform has been set to sine waveform for function generator number 1, and the frequency of the function generator number 1 has been set to 100 kHz and the amplitude has been set to 10 Vp. The setting for function generator number 2 is the waveform has been set to sine waveform with the frequency of 5 kHz and the amplitude of 6 Vp. The oscilloscope has been used to view the output waveform of the circuit. This is the output waveform that we obtained from our circuit. The blue color waveform shows the carrier signal. The pink color waveform shows the information signal. The red color waveform shows the modulated signal, and the green color waveform shows the demodulated signal. Thank you, sir.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, I'm going to present the discussion of this AM receiver and transmitter. The circuit consists of AM modulation circuit and envelope detector circuit. The AM modulating circuit is a single transistor emitter modulator, while the envelope detector is a diode detector. The transmitter circuit is an emitter modulator circuit. This circuit operates by manipulating the gain of the transistor as its emitter current changing caused by the information signal at the emitter. The circuit below is a diode detector receiver. Diode detector is the simplest and most basic form of AM demulator. When it receives an AM signal, it detects the envelope of the signal, which is the information signal. Next, the capacitor acts as a low-pass filter to block the carrier signal with high frequency. Then, it rectifies the information signal, leaving only whether positive half or negative half at the wave. In real-life usage, the input of the receiver will be an antenna and its output is a speaker. We can see, based on the obtained waveform, the modulation signal is slightly distorted. This is because the transmitter circuit is not suitable for practical use. The transistor modulator is a simple transmitter designed mainly for simulation use. This is due to its low accuracy and high distortion rate. Also, the demodulated signal is only on the positive circle. This is because the diode detector receiver rectifies the waveform to produce only positive half of the modulated signal. Thank you.
My name is Shamina. Today I am going to explain about the conclusion of our stimulation experiment. The conclusion is obvious that transmitters that transmit AM signal are known as AM transmitters. These transmitters are used in medium wave and short wave frequency bands for AM broadcasting. Higher level transmitters use higher level modulation and low level transmitters use low level modulation. The choice between the two modulation schemes depends on the transmitting power of the AM transmitter. In broadcast transmitters, where the transmitting power may be of the order of kilowatt, higher level modulation is employed. In low power transmitter, where only a few volts of transmitting power are required, low level modulation is used. There are two other basic types of modulation other than AM, which is frequency modulation FM and phase modulation PM. The advantage of AM over other type of modulation are it is simple to implement, require less and cheap component and can travel long distance. While the disadvantages are it is not efficient in power usage, sensitive to noisy and require bandwidth twice the frequency of information signal. Today's applications of AM are such as broadcasting, transmission, and airband radio. Thank you.